Ted Bundy. Ted Bundy was one of the most infamous serial killers in American history. What made him especially dangerous was how normal he appeared. He was intelligent, charming, and even studied law. People trusted him, and that trust became his weapon. Born in 1946, Bundy had a troubled childhood, filled with confusion about his identity and family. As he grew older, he developed disturbing thoughts and violent fantasies. But on the outside, he looked like someone you would never suspect. In the 1970s, young women across the United States began disappearing. Many of them were college students. Witnesses often described a man who looked injured, sometimes wearing a fake cast, asking for help. That man was Bundy. He used sympathy to lure victims close to him. Authorities struggled to catch him because he moved between states and changed his tactics. Eventually, he was arrested, but what shocked everyone was that he managed to escape custody, not once, but twice. After his escape, his crimes continued, becoming even more brutal. His final arrest came in Florida. During his trial, Bundy acted as his own lawyer, showing his intelligence but also his arrogance. In 1989, Ted Bundy was executed. His case shocked the world and changed how people think about criminals. It proved that danger doesn't always look scary. It can sometimes wear a friendly face. Jeffrey Dahmer. Jeffrey Dahmer is remembered as one of the most disturbing criminals in modern history. Unlike others, his crimes involved extreme psychological issues and isolation. Born in 1960, Dahmer had a difficult childhood. He felt disconnected from others and struggled to build relationships. Over time, his loneliness turned into unhealthy obsessions. In his early adulthood, Dahmer began committing crimes. Many of his victims were young men. He often lured them with promises of money or opportunities, then trapped them. One of the most shocking things about Dahmer's case was how long he went undetected. There were even moments when police encountered situations that could have exposed him, but misunderstandings allowed him to continue. Eventually, in 1991, one of his intended victims managed to escape and alert the police. When officers entered Dahmer's apartment, they discovered horrifying evidence that revealed the full extent of his crimes. During his trial, Dahmer admitted to his actions. He did not deny what he had done, which made the case even more chilling. He was sentenced to life in prison. In 1994, Jeffrey Dahmer was killed by another inmate in prison. His story is often discussed not just because of the crimes, but because it highlights the importance of recognizing warning signs and taking action early. John Wayne. John Wayne Gacy was known as the Killer Clown, a nickname that reflects the disturbing contrast in his life. On the surface, he was a respected member of his community. He even performed as a clown at children's parties. Born in 1942, Gacy had a difficult relationship with his father, who was often abusive. As he grew older, Gacy tried to build a successful life. He ran a business and was active in politics. However, behind this normal image, Gacy was hiding a dark secret. In the 1970s, young men and boys began disappearing in his area. Many of them were last seen near Gacy. He would lure victims to his home, often offering work or assistance. Once inside, they were trapped. Over time, suspicions grew as more people went missing. In 1978, police finally investigated Gacy's home. What they found shocked the entire world. Evidence revealed that many victims had been buried under his house. Gacy was arrested and later convicted. During his trial, he attempted to claim insanity, but the court found him responsible for his actions. He was executed in 1994. His case remains one of the most disturbing examples of how someone can hide evil behind a friendly public image. Richard Ramirez. Richard Ramirez, also known as the Night Stalker, terrorized communities in California during the 1980s. Born in 1960, Ramirez had a troubled upbringing. He was exposed to violence at a young age, which had a strong impact on his behavior and mindset. Unlike other criminals who targeted specific victims, Ramirez attacked randomly. His crimes took place at night, often involving breaking into homes. This unpredictability created widespread fear. People were afraid to sleep in their own homes. News coverage increased the panic, and the entire region felt unsafe. One key turning point in the case was when Ramirez left behind evidence that helped police identify him. His face was then shared publicly. In 1985, citizens recognized him and helped capture him before police arrived. This was a rare moment where the public directly played a role in stopping a criminal. Ramirez was convicted and sentenced to death. He spent years in prison before dying in 2013 due to natural causes. His case showed how fear can spread across a society and how communities can come together to stop it. Aileen Wuornos. Aileen Wuornos is one of the most well-known female serial killers in history, and her story is very different from the others. Born in 1956, her childhood was extremely difficult. She experienced abandonment, abuse, and lived much of her early life without stability. As she grew older, she struggled to survive and eventually turned to prostitution. In the late 1980s and early 1990s, several men were found dead in Florida. The victims were connected by a pattern. They had all encountered Wuornos. She later claimed that her actions were in self-defense, saying the men had threatened or attacked her. This made her case highly controversial. Some people believed her, while others saw her as a calculated criminal. As the investigation progressed, evidence connected her to multiple killings. She was eventually arrested in 1991. During her trial, Wuornos displayed intense emotions and unpredictable behavior. Her mental state became a major point of discussion. Experts debated whether she fully understood her actions or was shaped by her traumatic past. She was convicted and sentenced to death. In 2002, Aileen Wuornos was executed. Her story raises complex questions about trauma, mental health, and how life circumstances can influence a person's path. Gary Ridgway. Gary Ridgway, known as the Green River Killer, is believed to be one of the most prolific serial killers in U.S. history. Born in 1949, Ridgway lived a relatively quiet and unremarkable life. He worked as a truck painter and was seen as an ordinary person by neighbors and co-workers. But during the 1980s and 1990s, many women began disappearing around the Green River area in Washington state. Most of the victims were vulnerable individuals, including runaways and sex workers. Ridgway managed to avoid capture for many years. One reason was that he blended into society so well. He didn't stand out, and he carefully avoided drawing attention. The case remained unsolved for a long time, becoming one of the biggest investigations in U.S. history. Finally, advancements in DNA technology helped police link Ridgway to the crimes. He was arrested in 2001. In order to avoid the death penalty, Ridgway confessed to numerous killings and helped authorities locate victims. His cooperation provided closure to many families. He was sentenced to life in prison without parole. Ridgway's case shows how dangerous someone can be while appearing completely ordinary, and how science can eventually bring truth to light. Dennis Rader. Dennis Rader, also known as the BTK Killer, gained notoriety not only for his crimes, but for the way he communicated with authorities. Born in 1945, Rader lived what seemed like a normal life. He was a family man, held a steady job, and was even involved in his local church. But between the 1970s and early 1990s, a series of crimes shocked the community of Wichita, Kansas. Rader gave himself the nickname BTK, which stood for Bind, Torture, Kill. He sent letters to the police and media, describing his actions and demanding attention. For years, the case went cold. Then, in 2004, Rader suddenly resurfaced, sending more messages. This ultimately led to his downfall. One of the biggest mistakes he made was sending a digital file to the police. Investigators were able to trace it back to him, revealing his identity. He was arrested in 2005. During his trial, Rader calmly described his crimes in detail, shocking everyone with his lack of emotion. He was sentenced to multiple life terms in prison. His story highlights how ego and the desire for recognition can lead to a criminal's capture. Ed Kemper. Ed Kemper, often referred to as the co-ed killer, is known not only for his crimes, but also for his intelligence and ability to communicate. Born in 1948, Kemper had a troubled childhood, especially his relationship with his mother. This deeply affected his psychological development. At a young age, he showed signs of violent thoughts. By his early adulthood, those thoughts turned into actions. In the early 1970s, college students began disappearing in California. Kemper would pick up hitchhikers, appearing friendly and harmless. What made Kemper unusual was his high intelligence and self-awareness. After committing multiple crimes, he eventually turned himself into the police in 1973. During interviews, Kemper spoke openly about his actions and mindset. His insights have been studied by psychologists trying to understand criminal behavior. He was sentenced to life in prison, where he remains today. Kemper's case is often discussed because it provides rare insight into how a criminal thinks, something that has helped experts study and prevent future crimes.